Friends, today's NRI Summer program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisummer@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Regime.
But is this intolerance of the power, intolerance of the government is Dalit specific? I feel that this intolerance is targeting left, intolerance is targeting civil rights, civil society movement, Adivasis, minorities, liberals equally. Is there anything specific to Dalit community? Do they have a reason to target Dalits in particular?
See, the idea of intolerance is very simple. Whosoever voices against you needs to be put down. Whether it is Dalits or Adivasis or women or communists or minorities or anybody. Now, see, I'll go back to the question which I began. Now, Ambika Period Study Circle was on target, followed by that Ambika Study Circle of Hyderabad Central University. It came on target. Now, this is also one needs to understand in a different framework. Now, if you look at the post-Ambedkar phase, phase of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, the Dalit movement historically has failed to address certain aspects. For example, when the neoliberal economy came to India, they could not raise the voice against it. They remained quiet. For example, the whole idea of land rights, I was referring to the corporate issue because of the land right question. The idea of distribution of land could not be addressed adequately. This whole thing could not happen also because of the fact that it was essential, for the community, the members of the community to stand in a little bit way by educating themselves, by getting employed. So that 1-2 generation were very busy to get employment, get their children educated, get them employment. Now the third generation after Ambedkar, now this is the third generation after Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Now this generation is a generation which is raising questions, which is raising critical questions. Yeah. Now this generation, through the academic interventions, through their thought process, through their activism, has been raising questions of injustice. Yeah. Now you could also see that in the last 2-3 years, particularly in campuses, many of the Dalit students organizations, they have been closely allying or understanding the communist students groups as their close allies, as their natural allies. Many times you would see for example, Birsa Ambedkar Phule Students Association, BAPSA in JNU, they align with ISA and SFI in the elections. The left unions and the Ambedkar Students Association.
For a minute, what you are saying, is there a growing feeling among Dalit activists that left is hijacking their movement?
No, I will come to that point in a while. So what I am trying to say with Rohit's case, if you look at the institutional murder of Rohit, and if you look at the way the Dalit or Adivasi students are targeted within the campuses, now why are they targeted is also because they are raising critical questions of injustice, critical questions of the question of freedom, which wasn't the situation 20 years back. Yeah. Except for the phase, if you look at Dada Saheb Gaikwad's movement after Baba Saheb, or the tiny phase of Dalit Panther, you could not see where people raise critical questions, and these two phases also were limited to Maharashtra. Now you could see that there are people from JNU, people from Tata Institute, young people from Tata Institute, young boys and girls from JNU, young boys and girls from HCU, young boys and girls from Calicut University, from IITs. They all are raising similar voices at the same time. Now this also is, it needs to be understood that it is also a phase of a radical Dalit politics.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of a radical Dalit politics, where they are questioning the whole idea of Manusmriti itself.
Yeah.
They are challenging the idea of Manusmriti.
Yeah.
They are aligning with groups which are willing to challenge those ideas.
Yeah.
So that whole understanding has actually, shaken the shackles and the citadels of power. Now,
a couple of recent things.
now you asked me another question in between.
I asked you, some section of Dalit activists, they feel that left is hijacking Dalit movement.
Yes. It is not left is hijacking or right is, being a spectator. See, there is a sense of reasoning also. The idea of India is an idea of a secular India. The idea of India is an India of a democratic India. The idea of India is, like plurality and, coexistence. So, left has never addressed the issue of caste in the past, maybe until 20 years back. So now there is a change in the attitude of left also. But yes, there is more number of left groups now coming into the post-Rohit phase of movements and all. However, like for example, if we look at Maharashtra, now Advocate Ambedkar has made an alliance, Advocate Prakash Ambedkar, he has made an alliance of Dalits, Bahujan, left, and all together he is bringing it. So now he is also he has taken a very serious initiative.
Yeah.
Now similarly, there are multiple initiatives going on across the country. So it is, yes, there is a fear because in the past left has always hijacked the Dalit movements and diluted it. But now you could see that it is not, at least in the campuses, people are now saying Lal Salam and Jai Bhim together. But that was not the situation until 25 years ago with the left parties even in India.
Let us compare one political reality of India, which is very visible and apparent in elections. We have a choice of left or BSP, which is the main Dalit-based party. Which do you think is able to protect Dalit interest to a greater extent? If it comes down to voting for one of the two, left or BSP?
Basically, what needs to be built over a course of time is an alliance between both. And that is where many of us are actually, heading towards. We are trying to bring these two groups who could be a natural allies. I will refer to a quotation from Baba Saheb, which was repeated by Kanshiramji. Baba Saheb said that capitalism is equally dangerous and destructive as much as Brahminism is. This was repeated time and again by Kanshiramji. But after the formation of BSP, and when BSP entered into power politics, there has been certain problems with BSP. BSP could not withstand the kind of pressure that was around. When they came into power, they had to appease many different communities, social groups and all. And they also went into a social engineering kind of a pattern. So that social engineering pattern is not going to help. What would help is basically building it from below. Now, in the last election, 2014 general election, BSP lost all the seats in UP. That has also helped them to learn a new lesson to some extent. Maybe not the top leadership, perhaps, but at least in the state leadership, they are realizing and acknowledging that we need to align with like-minded parties who are willing to be against a fascist force. That kind of a discussion is going on. When it comes to voting, voting is a very individual, it's a very personal thing for every individual. if it's between communist and BSP, I would not give a suggestion to anybody, because I would say, like, look at the political agenda, look at the agenda which favors the Dalits more, and look at, both are equally capable. Even if BSP, I don't think BSP is incapable, because at least to certain extents, Mayawati had implemented the, she has distributed land in UP, not completely, not entirely. And so that land distribution to the landless cannot be dismissed completely. That cannot be, that cannot be, you have to acknowledge that part. But in the past, communist regimes did not do this. So this is a question which I have been raising in terms of the land reforms in Kerala in 50s and 60s by the Communist Party, which actually, instead of providing land to the Dalits who were actually the landless, they constructed a class of landed people, particularly the intermediary caste, the Shudra caste, the OBCs, what we call it today.
I'm curious about one fact, that one Dalit party of North India, which is BSP, another Dalit party of Tamil Nadu, which had been in power off and on. How do you compare the two parties? Both the parties have lots of corruption on them, and both are in power politics, and one represents North, another represents South. So is there a comparison possible in terms of their background and possibility?
Which party of Tamil Nadu are you referring to as a Dalit party?
Isn't there a DMK with a majority of a Dalit support?
No. See, DMK is basically a OBC domain party.
But Dalits, they largely support DMK in elections.
Okay, let me give you a clarification. There are two Dalit parties in Tamil Nadu.
I know that.
There are proper, one is the VCK, the Vidudalai Sirathigal Kachchi, which is basically the reform name of the Dalit Panther of Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
And another is a party by Dr. Ramakrishnan. I don't remember the Pudu Tamil Kachchi, something like that. Now, if you look at the political context of Tamil Nadu has the history of the Dravida movement.
Yeah.
Tamil Nadu has got the history of anti-caste, anti-upper caste movement.
Yeah.
And Tamil Nadu has also got the critical context of making political groups right from the pre-independence phase. So DMK did come into power as a anti, or maybe it was formed even as a anti-upper caste party, but it was not particularly a Dalit party.
Yeah.
It was an OBC party.
But it has a large Dalit support base.
It has got certain support, not very large, but because of the fact that VCK and the other party also drag a lot of votes. So OBC is the majority social group in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
So something around 60-62% of OBCs are there in Tamil Nadu, which is a huge number in terms of demography. So the Tamil Nadu politics always revolves around this group, these OBC groups. However, because you have used the term Dalit party, yes, BSP, but there is a difference. BSP has got its presence across the country. Whether it's a big presence or a small presence, they have units in all states. There is a state unit in all states and union territories of this country. They've got offices, they contest elections, and if you look at the vote percentage even in the general election, their percentage is much higher than that of DMK or any other Dalit party, or regional Dalit parties. So the scope of leading a nation as a Dalit party and the owners actually would remain with BSP. Would definitely remain with BSP. Now BSP needs certain corrections. BSP needs certain corrections in terms of addressing the questions of Dalits beyond Uttar Pradesh. Secondly, it needs corrections in terms of addressing the questions of the poverty, the working class, the working masses. Third, it also needs to address the question of Adivasis. Fourth, it needs correction in terms of aligning with like-minded and politics and parties. So that alliance, there was a time when people...
Are we missing one very vital point here?
Sorry?
While counting 4 things, there is a looming danger on BSP. This party is entirely based on personality cult of one leader. There is no rank, there is no second command in the party, and it is in serious danger if Mayawati for some reasons is not there to lead the party. I mean, you are representing one whole community or a cause, and at the same time there is no second in command, there is no party structure or hierarchy. It runs entirely on whims and decisions of one individual. So don't you consider that it needs to address that also?
Yes, definitely that leadership question needs to be addressed. And personally, I also have a different opinion that Indian politics have always surrounded around personality cults. That's one thing which is very specific to India, except communist parties traditionally, which always had change of and shift of leadership. RSS has succeeded in adapting this part of communist parties. RSS always ensures that BJP is not a one-man led party.
Very correct.
RSS ensures that BJP, if it is led by Atal Bihari, Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi, the trio in 80s and 90s, it asks directly to this leadership that it's over and out. So then they brought in different Rajnath Singh, Venkaiah Naidu. They experiment with new people. Modi was one of the experimental laboratory. So leadership experiments has been done. Historically done by communists, adapted from the communists by the RSS. They brought it first into Jan Sangh, then into the BJP. Now, otherwise, if you look at the political parties, even today, Congress runs around the Gandhi family.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.